Started cooking. What's up, guys? I have this lovely lady in here, and we're about to start recording. 3, 2, 1. What up, everybody? Taylor Toxin back at you. Hello, hello. I have a new guest today. Her name is Kelsey Rainn. She is a musician, a teacher, and I put on the flyer dice designer. I wasn't really sure how to phrase that. Is that the correct way?
Yeah,
Designer?
definitely. I mean, it works. I don't know if I've ever actually sat down and thought of a quote-unquote proper title, but
Okay.
I make dice.
How is that? It's acrylic?
Yeah, so it's epoxy resin.
Okay.
And so from start to finish, it takes, I don't know, like 4 days per set. So I have to order like the masters, polish them.
Mm-hmm.
I make my own silicone molds, and then I pour... I have to mix. It's like liquid glass almost, so I have to mix that, and then I color it, and then I pour them in the molds, and then they sit in a pressure pot for a couple days, and then I pull them out, polish them, and then boom, handmade dice for tabletop games.
for what is it? And I automatically think of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
right? Is that like
that's exactly what it is?
Okay,
yeah.
I've never played. I still want to.
Oh, for sure.
If there's any groups out there that are playing, invite me. Send me something.
There you go.
Anyways, we'll get back to that in a second, but I do want to talk about your background.
Sure.
Kelsey Rainn, are you from New Mexico, or did you somehow land here by accident? What's the story on that?
So I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit.
Ooh, the dirt is coming.
Love saying that I am from here. The truth is, I was not born here. I was born in Idaho. That's where my family kind of got started.
Okay.
And then when I was about 8 years old, my dad got a job out here, and so we ended up moving. And then that was in 2002, and I've been here ever since, minus 5 years in there when I went to college, back in Idaho, actually. So
you missed it so much that you just wanted to go back?
I guess, and then I changed my mind immediately because it's way too cold. So.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Damn. So what is it about New Mexico that keeps you here, though? I mean, I know that Idaho is cold, but why not go to Arizona or California other than the expense over there?
Right. So something that I have always kind of fell in love with is the skyline in Albuquerque. There are no skyscrapers, and so especially around the sunset time, you have like a 360 view of the sunset. And of course, watching the sunset go over the sandias turn red, and then you look across the mesa, and you can see just flat line and then just colors and clouds and all sorts of stuff. It's honestly one of my favorite things ever, and when I try to explain it to people who aren't from here, they're like, it's a sunset, what's your deal, I'm like, you don't understand, you have to see it. So
no. Don't you do that. She always does this to me. Blinky, don't do this to me. She always does that. But I mean, I definitely do understand the hues and the different colors that you get from New Mexico, because whenever you go out of state, it's just slightly different. Every single time. And I thought about that a couple days ago. Like, what makes it different?
Yeah.
Is it like the knowledge of knowing of where you are, or is it like the cloud formation, or is it the different? I don't get it.
I love this time of year because we get more rain than normal than we do the rest of the year, I guess, and so the clouds are always changing. But around the sunset, you can see there's just lots of little clouds here and there, and they all turn pink and orange and all sorts of crazy colors.
Orange, from orange to purple. That's always a crazy transition to watch.
Yeah,
you know why we have those colors, right? Pollution.
Oh,
yeah. Did you guys know that the reason why we have so many pretty colors in the skies is the pollution? So the prettier it is, the more fucked up it is. Check that out.
Yeah.
My God. Do you have any plans to move outside of New Mexico? Like in the next 5 years, do you plan to move to your dream spot? And what is your dream spot?
That is a good question, and honestly, that's a question that I've been asking myself a lot recently. I do see myself being here for a long time, only because I believe in putting in roots. And right now, at least over the last year, I've been putting in a lot of roots in my career. And, so I'm working with a studio in town. I'm working with all these different students in the West Side and Rio Rancho area. And so, I do see myself staying here for the next 5 years. But after that, I don't know. I also love traveling, so...
Fair enough. Have you ever ventured outside of the U.S.?
Yeah, actually, a long time ago, when I was in high school, we did a trip to Austria and Germany when I was in high school, doing the Albuquerque Youth Symphony program. You know, they do every 4 years they do an international tour, and so I was really lucky in my senior year.
Those.
Yeah, my senior year I was able to go, and so it was a really cool experience. We got to play.
I'm jealous.
Sorry.
Damn. Austria and Germany.
Yeah. It was great.
Usually a lot of the trips that the high school offers is like Paris. You know?
Oh, sure.
And even that's like a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jealous. Capital High, why? Were we just not special enough? God. Anyways, what were some of the things that you learned from going out there?
A lot of music history. We ended up, we were in Salzburg, Austria for a little bit, and we went to the birthplace of Mozart, and so we got to see, like, the house and everything. We were also in Vienna, and again, I'm going to tell on myself, we had the option to either go to this really cool music museum or go see Beethoven's grave. I chose the music museum because it was really cool, but I should have gone. I know I'm telling on past Kelsey. She should have gone to
grave.
Yep, exactly.
Damn.
But it was still a really cool experience, so it was a lot of fun. But just being there, and at that point in my musical career, you know, I'd been playing violin for like 6 or 7 years, and getting to know like the origin of some of these, you know, these big famous composers like Mozart and Beethoven. We got to see a lot of that. I got to see the grave of Anton Bruckner too. He was
Bruckner.
Yeah, it was the most metal thing I think I've ever seen, because his like sarcophagus is underneath this abbey. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but the back of the wall is covered in skulls, and it was like skulls from a mass grave that had been there. I can't remember the rest of the story. All I remember is seeing the sarcophagus, which was directly under the organ that he composed in, and then just the back of the wall was this
real human skulls.
Real human skulls.
Or did they come from the catacombs by any chance, or was it...
That's a good question.
You
I don't know. I was in high school. I was still kind of a dork. I mean, I am still now a dork, but back then it was just like, those are skulls right there. It's pretty cool. You know, that's about it.
It's good that you still have that dorkness, though.
Exactly.
Like some of us still need that.
It's gotten worse, honestly. Anyway.
So going back to school, what kind of kid were you growing up? You know, elementary, middle, high school. Like, what were the phases?
Definitely. Every year on my birthday, I have to write my mom like a thank you note for allowing me to live beyond the 13-year-old years, because I was an absolute sasshole. It was awful. And I feel so bad because I look back and I'm like, Mom, I'm so sorry. Especially like after I started teaching middle school, I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, you know. So definitely teenagehood was hard. But when I got into like high school, you know, I held on to that sass, at least at home. But I was definitely very introverted, definitely not very, didn't have a lot of friends, didn't talk to a lot of people. My whole universe was just music. That was like my whole thing. And so, So
going deeper into that music, when did the passion for it start developing?
You know, I'm not sure. My mom likes to say that when I was around 4 or 5, I started asking about it. And I would
That's awesome.
sing, I would make noise, and then when I was in kindergarten, she started me on piano lessons. They didn't stick. I played piano for a couple of years. Of course,
what do you mean they didn't stick? You're still a badass at it.
I mean,
even now.
No, I can play chords. I can play chords. I know, here's the problem, is I know piano players who are actually good, and I'm like, that's probably where I should be if I had continued. But after a couple of years, that was actually, you know, I started violin when I moved here to Albuquerque when I was 8. And so I took piano until we moved, and like, you know, I was really young, and I just kind of learned how to plunk. But anyway, then...
Like, you just got the normal chords, like, yeah, I know how to play, but that's it.
That was about it, yeah.
I mean, I've seen videos like that.
There you go,
Just play this, and make everybody believe that you know how to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
See, that's all I do on stage right now. Again, telling on myself.
I mean, but isn't that like the progression of music? It's really just like 4-chord progression, and then you kind of just develop off of that. So
Absolutely.
it's like slowly getting better no matter what.
Honestly, some of the best advice I ever got was to just fake it until you make it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as while you're faking it,
Yeah.
you're also like actively learning and participating, you know?
Yeah, I get it. And connecting, getting to know different people that can hopefully get you into something else.
Exactly. Well, and just allowing yourself to like be a learner. Oh, Blinky.
Why
That's
Blinky?
okay.
It's fine. She's fine.
We'll just be kind of dark. It's okay.
I mean, thankfully for the LED ring and the backlights were chill.
So we're good.
She might come back. I might have to throw something at her.
It worked!
Haha! See? I knew it. Anyways, back to the whole music thing. How many instruments do you know how to play in general right now?
In general,
Because I know piano, violin, guitar. I'm assuming bass because they're so like.
yeah, electric bass is one that I need more practice on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
can
you
make
sing.
it. I do,
Yeah.
My degree is in viola.
Cool.
And so, yeah, well, like I did my bachelor's in music education, and while I did that, I actually had to learn how to play all of the instruments. And the only one that really I can't play all of them well. I can make them make noise.
Yeah.
Except for the trumpet, okay? The only noise I could really make on the trumpet was like a honk, and to this day, like, you could probably ask my professor, and he will remember, like, the absolute panic attack I had when I had to do, like, a playing test with the trumpet, because I literally cried. I could not make any noise other than just, like, like an awkward honky fart sound, so...
I've been around trumpet players and newbie trumpet players. They're not
so
they're not very
hard.
good.
Oboe wasn't too bad. Oboe was the hardest one.
Oh, okay.
Like
I was gonna say
it's got the double reed on
I
it.
hate oboe.
Yeah.
I thought clarinet was bad, but no,
Nope.
no, oboe's another deal. God, so you know how to play every single one, but the one that you don't like the most is
The one I cannot play is trumpet. The ones I can play passably on a stage would be violin, viola, guitar, more like rhythm guitar, keyboard, and voice. That's about it.
gnarly.
So, yeah.
So saxophone.
Saxophone, actually, if I picked it up, I bet I could figure it out and make some
It's super
groovy.
fun.
I love.
I mean, because
saxophone.
if you know the oboe, isn't that the transferable to the clarinet? Very simple.
I think so. I'm thinking of the key. I think the oboe reads in treble clef in like standard tuning, but the clarinet you have to transpose, and that's where it gets tricky in my brain, is having to like transpose what's on the page
On your fingers.
into your fingers and into your brain.
Yeah, I know. Switching from a clarinet C and then a saxophone C was just like.
Yep.
Wait, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, let me do some rearranging here.
Yep.
So right now, with all the instruments that you're playing, when you were growing up, so how do I phrase this? I know that you do multiple things in multiple bands right now. What was the first thing that you got like really passionate into as a kid? Were you a part of any groups as a kid?
Yeah, actually. So I kind of briefly mentioned this earlier, but when I was 7th grade, I auditioned for the Albuquerque Youth Symphony program, which is and it's a citywide youth orchestra program that specifically provides like high quality music education to youth, and it's been over 50 years now since this this symphony started. And it was really awesome. I was in it for 6 years. We've got people all over the city, all over the country that have kind of come out of this program. And it's it made a huge impact in my childhood, in my life.
That's a big deal.
And so for sure. And my parents still remember to this day how to fold luminarias, because that was one of their big fundraisers. They had to do that for many, many years. And so other parents who have children in this program know exactly what I'm talking about. You have to fold so many of them just to raise funds. I don't know what they use them for now, but anyway, it was a lot of work. Lots of rehearsals every Saturday morning from 7th grade up to, I guess it was just 7th and 8th grade. I had to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Every Saturday for 2 years, which was really fun. High school was different. High school they did Monday evenings. But anyway, my parents definitely were very involved in that. But it definitely set a fire under me. And between like yeah, just playing all this music every week, and also the people that I got to interact with, the people I got to learn from, the mentors that I was able to meet and learn from was, yeah, just absolutely insurmountable in making who I am right now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, to have patience for kids, I would imagine, you have to go through some trial and stipulations. Going into the music style, you were going into, I'm assuming, the orchestra style. When was it that you made this transfer into metal music?
Okay, so I definitely, all of my training is in classical music because they don't have a degree in metal viola. That's not a thing. Not yet.
Okay.
There you go. Give it a couple years maybe. But anyway, so yeah, all of that. All of my training is classical training. When I was in high school, I started playing guitar. When I was about 14, I literally pulled. Excuse me. I got a frog in my throat. I literally pulled my dad's guitar that he played in college in the 80s. I had to think really hard about that for some reason. Sorry, Dad. Anyway, I pulled this guitar out of his closet, and I started playing it, and I kind of fell in love with that. So I started writing music. I do have a dorky YouTube channel, so from 2010. So bonus points if you can find it, I guess. I don't know what those points could be redeemed for, but that channel is out there, and I'm very blonde in that. So just fair warning.
Blonde?
Yeah, this is not my natural hair color, unfortunately. So
is blonde your natural hair color?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, curious.
Fun fact. So, anyway, so yeah, I started playing guitar in high school, and then I started writing my own music, and somewhere in there, I started listening to metal. I had friends that had kind of introduced me to it, and then when I got into college, I still liked heavy metal, and I actually got this tremendous opportunity to record for a couple bands. One of them is Periphery, actually. I played on...
Periphery?
Yep, Select Difficulty. I was on one of the backup... the backup orchestra, and then another band called Misery Signals.
Sick.
Yeah, it was a really fun time. And after, I started recording for that, and I was like, this is so cool. Classical music is cool, don't get me wrong.
Right.
For all my students out there who are watching or listening, please, classical music is great. I started doing this recording stuff, and I was like, man, this is really cool, just listening to the way that, it's all written and organized, and then the way that they fit into, the metal tracks. I kind of fell in love with symphonic metal, and so that's kind of on my list eventually, is to write my own symphonic metal album and whatnot. And so yeah, it's on my list.
That's really interesting. I mean, it's really nice because classical music can fluctuate into kind of like any genre, they say. Just as long as you can fit it, correct chord progression, same keys and whatnot, etc., etc.
Yeah.
It sounds all beautiful. Do you know Nightwish?
I do, actually. Yeah, I love them.
First symphonic metal band I ever got into, and it's just like, get that emotion from them that you don't get from any other band.
Yeah, absolutely.
God,
and my goal kind of right now is to start developing my own metal violin viola technique, if that makes sense. Just different ways that you can kind of standardize and showcase the violin on a heavy metal stage. So as far as my rig goes, right now I'm using a fully electric 5-string violin. It's called an Aurora. I bought it out of Brazil. Absolutely worth it. Super gorgeous. If you haven't seen these, definitely go online and look them up. So I've got that, and then I have a full pedal board with a bunch of Boss pedals. Eventually I'm going to get a fully electric pedal board instead of just a bunch of pedals, but
pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So
have you ever have you thought about just putting it onto a pedal board? Just multiple uses.
Yeah, a multi-effects pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list. The ones I want are really expensive, and that's it. So
it's always money.
Exactly.
It always. Money. My God. But I mean, so what are you doing for money, by the way? How are you paying for this?
So right now, I actually just got a job at a little place called Music on the West Side. It's in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, and I really like it. Right now, I think I'm the one violin teacher they have. They might have another one I haven't met yet. But I'm doing that, and then I'm also working at a restaurant right now. I'm washing dishes. Yes, so I'm dishwashing right now, but I'm actually training to be a cook.
Okay.
My boss, Raul, is fantastic. He's such a chill dude, and he's very much pro training. How do we get you out of dishwashing and into something new, And so
something that I'm pretty sure is gonna put you to use your strength. Your strengths, you know what I mean? Because anybody can wash dishes.
Oh, for sure.
If you haven't washed dishes, go do it. It humbles you. I'm serious.
Exactly. And you clean up after people, and it's really fun. You're
fun.
It helps your
quotations.
your gag reflex too. You suddenly don't have one after you're scraping people's plates. Anyway.
Oh my god,
So.
you just give me flashbacks. God, good times. Good times.
It's
Hell.
good for you.
And really quick before we get off on this first segment, one question that I didn't ask you was, in your childhood, were you the only child, or did you have any brothers and sisters?
I am the oldest of 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
8 of them.
Mhm.
Go mom.
So, to be fair, the youngest 2 were adopted.
Okay.
If I can do a quick mom brag, she and my dad have been foster parents for the last couple of years. They just recently ended their license. But yeah, so my youngest biological brother is 17, and when he got into high school, my parents were like, man, you know what? We just still haven't quite gotten it right. So we need more to make sure we know we're good parents. So
out of 8.
they're amazing. Yes, my parents are awesome. So yeah, I'm my youngest brother is 5.
5 years old.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
No way. So, anybody else in the family are musicians, or is everybody just in different categories?
We're all kind of in different categories right now. My youngest brother, biological brother, is into sports. He's
Dope.
yeah, he plays basketball, soccer, volleyball. He swims. He's amazing. He's like the weirdo though. The rest of us are huge nerds. So right now I'm the only professional musician. I have a couple siblings that did piano. I have one of my brothers did the youth symphony program with me.
Oh, cool.
And
Okay.
so yeah, and then. Yep, that's about it. So I'm the only weirdo.
I wouldn't say the only one. I need to meet the other ones. And,
that's fair.
Let me judge.
Yes.
But that is a perfect first segment into our podcast with Miss Kelsey Rainn. Thank you for tuning in with us, guys. We're going to be right back, and we're going to get into the deeper parts of what makes Kelsey Rainn, Kelsey Rainn. Stay tuned, guys. And that's part 1. Awesome sauce. And of course, we're still live with Instagram.
Oh, of course.
And this goes live on YouTube. So stay tuned, guys. We're about to get into part 2. And if you guys don't know what that means, it means 2, dos, okay? We live in Santa Fe. Come on, guys. Anyways, 8. Oh my God! And I thought I was bad. I only have one brother. I want to kill him all the time. Shout out to Joe Hirsch. Let's see. How well do you hear yourself on your side? Is it clear?
Right now I can't hear. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can hear pretty well. I mean, it's a little bit delayed, but that's okay.
Delayed?
A little bit of latency.
Let's see here. do. How's that? Do you hear yourself pretty well?
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome sauce. Okay, cool. We're about to get in part 2, guys. Let's get it. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay.
Cool.
I had to make sure. Don't piss me off, Blinky.
Please.
That is her new name, and it is going to stay that way because ever since I've had her, she's been like that, honestly. And it's only that one, not this one. Thank you, Tolly. I'm just gonna
Tolly
and Blinky. Yeah.
Perfect.
Great names for technology.
You're welcome,
Goddamn.
by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, she's the one who started this now. Welcome back to part 2 with my podcast with Kelsey Rainn, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I really want to dive deep into it. So give me the bands that you're into right now, because as far as I know, you are doing piano, guitar, and violin for
7 days.
7 days rest.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I didn't forget about the name, guys. It was
That's
coming
okay.
to me.
I didn't forget, so.
I know. And then you also do clean vocals for another band, right?
I used to. I actually just walked away from them this last week.
Okay.
I kind of made the determination that I'm spread a little thin, And spreading yourself thin as a musician, first of all, it's really easy to do, but it's kind of a career killer. And so I just kind of made this realization that, you know, the band wanted something, and I just, like, they wanted more from me, and I did not have the time. And
Understood.
I am not a person to half-ass anything, and I felt like I was definitely doing that with them. So, yeah, no hatred, no, like, you know, no ill will. I just told them, like, hey, I'm so sorry, like, I still want to do this, but I have so much happening right now.
Right.
And so they were like, you know what, that's okay, why don't we part ways, and, you know, so we'll figure it out. But yeah, so right now I'm actually just in 7 days rest, but I'm also in development for my own solo project.
I was gonna ask, but I thought that was coming. Okay.
Yeah.
So, for the for your own music, how's that going? Are you doing everything by yourself, or are you collaborating with other artists?
You know, and I haven't quite made it that far yet. Right now, it's mostly just a concept. As far as, like, my writing process, I always start with, like, lyrics, and then I start with some kind of an acoustic, just like a chord framework. And after I get that done, then I can start reaching out to other artists, especially, like, another drummer. I do have a couple in mind. But, you know, if in the studio, I could record my own rhythm guitar, my own keyboard, vocals as well. And so, yeah, so I think it just depends. And I still haven't decided if it's going to be a studio-only kind of project. We'll see, because definitely, like, doing a lot of live stuff is a whole new animal, you know?
Really?
Yeah, for sure. It's completely different from, like, studio, you know, trying to make a studio album. And so,
Right.
yeah, so I'm not sure what direction that's going to go yet.
How long have you been doing your own music? Because I know you started with guitar back in high school.
Yeah.
Writing your own music. Are you still working on music that you had way back then, or are you just working on new material right now?
Right now I'm working on new material. I actually have a really bad habit of, like, starting a song and then just, like, not finishing it. So I have a bunch of, like, I have a bunch of partly written music. But no, all the stuff that I had written in high school, I actually, like, when I went to college, I took a break from writing music because I was so busy, like, with my classical nerd training that I just didn't have time. I didn't have time to sit down and write music, and so I did a little bit of dabbling here and there. But once I finished my like, my graduate stuff in 2020, then I finally had time to, like, sit down and actually write new music. And so about 2021 is when I finally was able to release my first EP, which I did with my friend Travis Hill through In Face Productions. Yeah, so that album, it's called WYWH. The band name is Cantrip with a K. And
Check
so
it out, guys.
yeah, it's on Spotify.
Just Spotify?
No, it's Spotify everywhere. Spotify, YouTube,
Okay.
Apple Music, TikTok.
Dude,
Yeah,
check it out,
it's
guys.
really fun. And that album, so Travis did all the mixing and mastering, and he did, like, the guitar and, like, the backing tracks. I did vocals, and I did strings. I think that's about it. So Travis did a lot of heavy lifting on that album, and I'm slowly, now that I'm learning more about the recording side, I'm learning more about how much work is actually involved in creating an album.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so shout out to Travis. If you haven't looked him up, look up THM Productions on SoundCloud, Spotify. Look him up on the internet too if you're looking for recording. So
Check it out, guys. Hell yeah. Well, I can't wait to actually look into that. And then 7 Days Rest, check them out, guys. Again, just as a reminder, Kelsey does play guitar, backing vocals, violin, and piano. So check that out. Love seeing them. The solo stuff coming out. What are some other groups that you have been a part of in your past that you unfortunately had to let go of?
Well, there was Late Night Fist Fight, which was the one that I just walked away from. I was part of a country band. I am not going to tell you that name because I don't like that band. But
fair enough.
Yeah, so I did, unfortunately, country fiddle is the only, like, music, or country is the only genre of live music that really makes any money. And so I had to do a lot of country music, and I'm not a huge fan of country music. I do it because it is kind of fun to get up there, and the music isn't hard at all.
Fair.
And so, you know, I am kind of a diva, so being able to get up on stage and be like, look what I can do, is, like, it's super fun.
Right. I mean, most of us musicians are kind of like, attention whores. So
Exactly,
okay.
and you kind of have to be able to get up on stage. And so,
Yeah.
you know, it was a good run. I was only with them for about 4 months, but it just kind of came down to my comfort level, and it just, so, not to get too political, I guess, but it is really hard to be a lady in the music industry because there's a lot of egos out there, especially male egos.
Right.
That, you know, they see a really cute girl and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to pay her. She just gets to be the limelight. She gets to hang out on stage and be
Get
grateful
exposure.
for that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, here's the thing. My college degree says otherwise, you know? And so, you know, and part of it's my ego. Like, I definitely have an ego. And so for that group in particular, it just kind of came down to my ego versus the lead singer's ego, and it just didn't work out. And so, you know.
Damn.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's just one of those things that happens, and it comes down to, like, if you're playing and you're not having a good time, then what the hell are you doing, you know? So.
What are you doing? That's a good question.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about that.
So,
other than the past things, in the
Sure.
future, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, man.
Music-wise, for the next 5 years, what are your goals in music?
So after everything that I just said about country music, I'm actually trying to start another country band with some of my friends who also hate country music. But we're
Makes
good
money.
at it. Exactly. Yeah. And, and we have some good connections, so we could easily get into some of these bigger bars and just shut them down, have a good time. And so, yeah, so that's on our list with, like, a lot of some covers, but also some originals. I tend to steer away from doing, like, cover band stuff. No hatred to cover bands at all. It's just not where my heart is, you know? Yeah. I would much rather get up and be like, here's my heart and soul, you guys, you know? So I'm kind of a nerd like that. And so, but anyway, yeah, so definitely that's on my list. And then, of course, getting my own solo stuff finally off the ground. I feel like I've been talking about my own album, like having my own album and my own project for, I don't know, like 10 years now. Since high school, you know. And
hey,
so
you and me both. You gotta manifest that stuff, and you just gotta continue working at it till you have it.
Exactly. And you can't give up, you know. It's so easy to be like, well, it's been 6 months and I don't have $1 million yet. Like, well, it's a process, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you might get halfway through writing a song and say, this song is trash. I need to start over. And that's okay. It's just part of the process. It doesn't mean you're a bad musician or a bad writer. It just means you've changed, you know?
Yeah. A lot of people give shit to bands or just musicians in general, but it's like changing is part of the process.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If you don't follow it and you don't like it, that's fine. Go find another band. They're gonna change too. Just give them some time.
Absolutely.
My God. Do you have a name for this solo project that you have? Like, is it going to be Kelsey and the blank, or is it just going to be a self-titled Kelsey Rainn type of thing?
That's a good question. I've kind of bounced around, and I at one point I did have a band kind of on board, but the name that I had in mind was Kelsey Rainn and the Death Valley Saints. But the more it is a mouthful for sure, but also, like, the more I think about it, the less I want my name to be on it, if that makes sense. Because this isn't about me. This is about making music and having a good time, you know. And the last thing that I want is to be recognized as, like, a diva, because that's another thing that some female artists have to deal with.
But aren't we?
Like, I mean, yes.
Like, let's face it. Fuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, you know, so it's still up in the air. But I've also had other names in mind. Mask of Many, which would be kind of a dope name for a symphonic band, or you know.
Would everybody be in masks? Because that kind of.
I think so. I think that would make sense. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah. So I'm not sure what direction I'm going to take quite yet. All I know is I have a ton of material. I think I have 2 albums written at this point.
Really?
And so, yeah, I just have to sit down and, like, actually record.
And put them out there.
Exactly.
And the only album that you do have is
Cantrip. Yeah, Cantrip. The album title or EP title is WYWH, short for Wish You Were Here. I just didn't want to write it out.
There you go. Yeah, I was curious. I was like,
yeah. Wish you were here. I know, yeah. Everyone's like, it's called what?
We wish?
Wish you were here, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I do have a couple singles here and there, again, that I did with Travis.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you can find them on Spotify. You can look me up on Spotify and
that's sick.
Find all my stuff there. But yeah, it's been really cool so far, and I can't wait to see what's coming next.
So outside of music, then, if let's say in a in another universe,
mm-hmm.
if you're not doing music, what are you doing?
Oh man, that's something that I have never thought of because music has been such a huge part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I like cooking. I'm learning a lot about cooking in my job right now, and right now I'm working on my knife technique, my chopping technique, so mm-hmm. I can chop quick
sure
without
are up.
Exactly,
yeah.
without losing a finger.
Yeah. I've seen fingers go, literally half of.
I need these. These are the money makers right
now. I know. I was like, oh, my finger, please don't be broken.
Yeah,
I need you.
So, but other than that, I'm learning how to draw. I have a really good friend of mine who's teaching me. And so, making art, I like painting. I'm not good at it, but I like it. Same with drawing. Mm-hmm. I'm terrible at it, but I'm having a good time, and that's what matters.
Well, think about it this way. Later on in the future, when you become famous, mm-hmm. you could be like, oh, here's a painting I did. You might think it's bad, but a fan is going to be like, I will give you $5,000 for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Your rent's paid.
There you go. Boom.
Think about it that way.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, yeah, other than that, I love, fun fact about me, I love exotic reptiles. So I had a lot more, but I ended up adopting some of them out when I moved. And so right now I have a boa constrictor, Central American boa constrictor. He's one of my favorite babies, yes. He's still pretty small, but eventually he'll be about the same height that I am, or he'll be as long as I am tall and about this thick. So his name's Peanut. He's my favorite. And then my other baby is my bearded dragon. His name is Thordak. That is also a Dungeons and Dragons reference because D&D is a huge part of my life.
Hell yeah, I love that. I mean, who doesn't love a dragon? Seriously,
he's so cute. He's my favorite. So.
I remember I had a little baby. Mm-hmm. I miss him.
Yeah.
Her?
Mm.
Yeah,
I don't know either.
You never really know. Weirdly enough. What else do you have?
2 cats and my German Shepherd.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
And the cats don't mind the python? They're just like, hey, what's up?
No, well, they stay separate. I never leave. I have big old, tank clips just in case.
Okay.
Because, when he gets big enough, he could definitely eat my cat, and I don't want that to happen. So,
yes.
Yeah, definitely lots of, protection and precautions to make sure that does not occur. He's not aggressive. He's a really gentle giant, but,
Well...
I don't
know. Yeah. I was gonna say gentle maybe, but if he's hungry and he sees a cat, different story. Really quick, and I do want to get into the dice section because I know I wanted to get back into that.
Yeah. You
gave us a really brief explanation on how you do it with epoxy resin.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
For fun, of course.
What the hell brought you in? I mean, I respect it and I adore it. Mm-hmm. How do you get into that, though?
It started as a quarantine hobby over 2020. That was literally the only reason.
Always the best.
All this time on my hands, and I have always been a crafter. I learned how to crochet from my mom, and I've loved, drawing and painting since I was in high school. And so, yeah, I just was like, I need something more. And this just kind of blew up. I couldn't stop. And so, I just started making dice, and I'm actually on Etsy. You can find me at etsy.com/shop/killerdiceco. That's Killer Dice CO. Where I have dice. I've got little dumpsters. Because sometimes when you roll dice, they don't roll very well during a game. Mm-hmm. And so if they roll really low numbers consistently, then you can put them in timeout. You throw them in this little tiny dumpster. It's literally it's like the size of the palm of your hand. That's my biggest seller right now are my dice dumpsters.
That's so cute.
Anyway, so it's dice and dice dumpsters, other nerd shit that I just like. I love cutesy little tabletop nerd garbage, and so Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of my hobby, I guess.
That's really cool. Honestly.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for sure.
My God, I'm trying to think of like another question that pertains to that. Honestly,
sure.
How many different variations of dice can you make?
Like different shapes?
Tell me about dice, because I know
sure.
that there's the 6-headed, regular cube,
yeah, mm-hmm.
and then there's
the big boy.
Octa.
Yeah,
thing.
So
yeah.
For tabletop games like Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, just to name like a couple of them,
Mm-hmm.
We use 7 different kinds, and they range from 4 sides all the way up to 20 sides. And there are actually a couple that there are some that are 100 sides too. You can make basically all sorts of combinations. I have not yet ventured to make a 100-sided die because it has to be really big.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
it's kind of like
small can you make
rolling a baseball to roll the dice. It's easier to just use the D10 and the D100. But anyway, yeah, so the biggest one is the D20, and I actually also make like oversized D20s, and it's exactly what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
It's got 20 sides on it. And so, yeah, so I guess the fun part is like trying to make these different designs in these different sizes, because you want the designs to be the same, but like
mm-hmm.
the amount of resin on the D4, which is like it's like a little pyramid. It's a lot smaller than the D20. And so, yeah, so it all comes down to like a little bit of science, a little bit of math. Like you just kind of have to, I don't get too fancy with it, but I have to scale down my design depending on the size of the die. And so, yeah, but I do those. I've done like sets of D6s, which is like the 6-sided that you would use for Monopoly, Yahtzee.
Yeah, we're all used to that one.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
the fun board games.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That's insane. So Etsy, you're gonna have to send me like all this information, because
sure.
It's a bit of a mouthful for everybody.
Oh sure, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wish You Were Here album, a part of the 7 Days Rest.
Mm-hmm.
Which school in Rio Rancho are you part of?
So right now it's just the music on the west side. It's a little studio.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
What's your duties being a teacher right now?
So now,
what are the highlights and what are the defaults? You know what? Just highlights, because there's no
Just
defaults working with kids. They're great. We love them.
So my absolute favorite thing is when kids come in and they come into the lesson and they don't really have a lot of self-confidence, either like, either from the very first lesson, you can kind of get a gauge for how they feel about the violin. Especially when they're young, or even when they kind of get into their middle school, pre-teenage years, they get kind of sad, and they're like, well, violin, I'm only here because my parents are making me, but my absolute favorite thing is kind of tailoring the way that I teach to get them interested. Not only that, but also kind of build their confidence a little bit. Through every lesson, I try to say, look, you just learned how to do this when you couldn't do that before. Or like within the last 20 minutes, you were able to do this. And I help kind of point it out to them, and they go, oh my gosh, this is so cool,
right.
So, I teach music because I love it, but I'm not just teaching music. It's more about teaching like life skills, like confidence, determination, perseverance, like learning how to push through those like mental blocks of like,
right.
oh, I'm not good enough.
Yeah. That self-doubt, eliminating that.
Yeah.
I get it.
And not even eliminating it necessarily, but just helping them kind of move past it, just giving them the tools to overcome those little speed bumps. So.
Right. I like that. I mean, that's a really good method of thinking about it, because kids are sponges. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? One little thing could, I mean, because I remember Miss Payne, she pushed me into music, and now I can be on stage because of her. Yeah. So just like,
exactly.
You're going to be a very large part of many of these kids' lives. Yeah. That's a huge deal. And before we get off, guys, I really want to go through the other groups that you're in, because I know that not only are you in bands, not only are you a part of the community that, for board games and whatnot, I understand that you're a part of some other groups, right? Like, you were talking to me about this gentleman that gets instruments and gives them out to people who need them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, and this kind of goes into my one of my philosophies as far as like why I'm a part of music. I firmly believe that music is a tool. Specifically, it's a tool for positive change.
Yes.
And so, this last year, actually, I was part of a music program called the Empowerment Through Music. It's it put on through the New Mexico Jazz Workshop in Albuquerque. And Empowerment Through Music, our whole goal is putting high quality music education in after school programs in the South Valley at no cost to families. So this year they're at 5 schools. They're hoping to expand. If you're interested in donating, go to newmexicojazzworkshop.org or nmjw.org and find out how to donate there. And then kind of not necessarily connected, but affiliated is the No Instrument Left Behind, which is put on by my friend Casper Gomez.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so this program is basically Casper gathers old instruments and music equipment that have been gathering dust in people's garages and, studios and stuff, and he finds students that need them. Specifically correct. Students that don't have access or they don't have the resources to acquire, electric guitars, amps, cables, mics, all that good stuff. And so that's another really good one. You can look it up on Facebook, No Instrument Left Behind. He's a really good guy. So
that's actually really easy to remember, guys.
Yeah,
definitely
for sure.
Check that out.
So if you have stuff in your garage that you're not using, that you're like, hey, you know what, this could go in a teenager's hands, absolutely contact Casper or my buddy Arthur Metters over at Empowerment for Music, and they can definitely help you find people who could benefit from having some musical instruments. So
that's crazy. That's really good. That's really good. Definitely look it up, guys. And before we get off this segment, because I know we have just a couple minutes, anything else that I forgot to ask you about? Any last minute shout outs that you want to make? Information that you want to put out there? Anything else you want to let these peeps know?
Sure. Lastly, for sure, I want to shout out my buddy Jimmy Medina over at the Recording Center, New Mexico. He just took over for Doug Geist at it's called Santa Fe Center or something like that. He just took over this place. He's a really good guy. He's super busy, but totally worth the wait. Mm-hmm. He is taking new clients for starting in October. And so, yeah, for sure, if you're looking to record and you're in Albuquerque, go say hi.
Hell yeah. And other than that, we can find your album, Wish You Were Here, just the abbreviation, right?
Yeah, WYWH.
There you go. And we can also look up music that you are a part in with 7 Days Rest. We can look you up on Etsy. What was the name again?
Etsy.com/shop/Killer Dice Co.
Killer Dice Co.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out, guys. That'd be pretty badass. Any last minute words, Kelsey?
Nope.
We good?
Stay frosty, buddy.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in with this podcast with Miss Kelsey Rainn, guys. Definitely look up her material, not only her music, but also her physical art on Etsy. Check that out. And I'll see you guys next Monday with a brand new interviewee. Love y'all.
Bye.
Take care. And we out on that. And on the video, we're out on you guys too. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. Check it out. Who do I have next Monday? I can't remember. You guys just need to come and check it out. Those hearts, love you. Much appreciated. Kelsey, that was fun, miss. And we'll talk next week.
Sounds good.
Bye, guys.